Hey guys, I hope you're doing well, and I am back for another video. It's been a little bit of time now. Um, I did make a couple of videos a month or so ago. In all honesty, I removed those videos simply because I really wasn't in the greatest state of mind when I recorded those videos, and which I'm sure I will get onto in future videos. But what I wanted to do in this video is I wanted to talk about personality types and your personality type. Now, quite a while ago, a man who goes by the name of Carl Jung, or Carl Jung, or Charles Jung, I think it could be Charles Jung actually. He proposed 16 personality types. And from my understanding of these personality types, it's actually pretty bang on. It seems from my experience, it's very accurate, and essentially you will be one of these 16 personality types. You will be one of these, and with each personality type there are 4 different functions within a personality type. 4 multiplied 4, 16. You will have a variation of those 4 functions, and I'll get onto the functions in a minute. But firstly, I want to explain why knowing your it's called the Myers-Briggs personality type indicator. Knowing your personality type can significantly improve your life in a multitude of ways. So the first thing it will do is it will enable you to understand your natural strengths, the things that you will naturally gravitate towards, and it will also highlight weaknesses as well that you can work on. As well, it will also help you understand how you interact with other people and how how certain relationships will work for you, and perhaps others might not as much. And it really just helps get a better understanding of yourself. And like I said, it's accurate. It's bang on. There's 16 personality types, pretty much. A lot of things change when you start developing your personality sort of type, but it's pretty accurate. So now I've explained the benefits, let's talk a little bit about the functions. So as I say, there's 4 functions within a personality type. And the first function number 1, is there are two types in the first function, okay? And this is the way that you socialize, interact with yourself, essentially like live life. Um, and that is, you are either extroverted, designated with an E, or you are introverted, which is designated with an I. So let's talk about an extrovert. So an extrovert is somebody who gains energy, feels at their best when they are around other people, perhaps in a large group. They enjoy being the center of attention. They really just like to, they really thrive when they're around other people and in those kind of environments. Now, an extrovert may struggle when they're alone. Not all of them, especially the ones who are more spiritually developed, may actually enjoy spending time alone. However, if you're an extrovert, you will probably be spending a lot of your time around other people. That is really where you gain energy, and you feel drained when you're alone. Extroverts also tend to, I'm not going to say dominate conversations, but perhaps they may be a little bit better at engaging conversations, bringing up different topics, speaking up perhaps a little bit more. So then we have the extrovert, and then we have the polar opposite, which is an introvert, designated with an I. So an introvert is the total opposite of an extrovert. And an introvert is somebody who gains energy, gains life from being alone, from spending time alone, perhaps reading a book, perhaps playing an instrument, or learning about the world, learning about different things, and may have a much smaller friendship group. This isn't to say all introverts, because this can really vary. A lot of some extroverts might have a small friendship group. It's not a it's not a be all end all, but they will naturally probably have a much smaller friendship group, and they will enjoy socializing, of course, but only in sort of smaller quantities. So you will actually, if you're introverted, you will feel drained from being around too many people, and essentially being around too many people. That will be quite draining for you. So the way that the extrovert and the introvert works, from the sort of societal structures that I have lived in, for one, and have sort of witnessed from just experience and watching people even like YouTube videos and things like that. I think the extrovert has been put on a bit of a pedestal, and oftentimes they are seen as perhaps the ones who do a little bit better, or or maybe feel a little bit happier, and that's kind of the way that from the societal structure, from that kind of point of view, that has played out. However, it's really not, it doesn't matter which one you are, it's who you are. But that's definitely, there's definitely been more towards the extrovert, and I think a lot of the introverts have felt left out, perhaps, felt like they don't fit in, or some, I mean, even I did this myself, try to be an extrovert, and fail miserably. Well, not fail, I'm not going to say fail, but just not particularly do a great job at it because it's not who you are. So that's the first function. You are either an extrovert or an introvert. The second function, this is the way that you learn and essentially take in information. And we have two functions here as well. So we have what we call a sensor, which is designated with an S. A sensor is you take information mostly based on pure logic. When you receive information, it goes into you in just a pure logical way. So an example, if let's say you're building a piece of Lego, like a Lego house or something like that, you would probably you would read the instructions and you would follow the instructions logically. So you would build it just based on pure logic alone. And that goes for learning pretty much anything. So you get we have the sensor, and then we also have the intuitive, which is designated with an N. So that's the opposite to a sensor, is an intuitive thinker. So an intuitive thinker will, when they learn information, they won't base their solution hypothesis on just pure logic. I'll give the example of the Lego house. They will read the instructions, however, a intuitive person has to filter the information, and what they do is they filter the information and put it against information that they already have accumulated from perhaps learning in the past or perhaps an experience that they've been through. They will mold that new information that comes in, and then they will put it against that information they already have to come up with perhaps a better answer or a better way of doing something. Now, in the example of the Lego house, so like I said, the sensor is more likely just going to read the instructions and just build it based on that pure logic. However, the intuitive might read the instructions as guidance, but may find they may perhaps build one side of the house, and they may then recognize that they can quite easily build the second part with the information that they've already got without reading the instructions. Or perhaps they could refer to a previous Lego house that they've built and bring in some of that knowledge from that previous house, ignore the instructions and do it the way that they know how to do it. Maybe not the most amazing sort of example, but I think that kind of will give you a good understanding of the difference of how sensors and intuitive thinkers sort of work. So that's the second function. The third function, there are two types. There are two types in each of the four functions, by the way, which makes up, of course, 8. So the third function, function number 3, there are two types. We have the thinker and the feeler. So this is the way that you actually make decisions. It's what you base your decisions on. Now, I do have an example. A thinker, you will make your decisions and do things mostly, not all of the time, mostly based on pure logic. What do I mean? I'm going to give the example of, let's say you've just been on a night out with a group of friends, and you need to get home, um, and you have two taxis in front of you, two Ubers, and you there's one Uber which will get you home in 15 minutes, and be, let's say, £20 or $20, and then you have a taxi on the right. You have another taxi which will get you home in 25 minutes, and let's say it was the same $20. So let's say the driver of the taxi, let's say the one that will get you home in 15 minutes, he or she looks a little bit not the sort of person you really want to be. Perhaps maybe you just don't particularly like the sort of the vibe. They maybe don't look so. Um, I'm trying to say this without, maybe they, yeah, they just don't like look all that great as a person, and they just don't look like someone you really want to get a lift from. Maybe someone you would naturally perhaps sort of maybe avoid. And then the taxi on the right, the one that takes 25 minutes, the person driving looks a little more, perhaps a little, you know, um, higher vibe, a little bit happier, maybe. Someone that you would probably enjoy spending, a taxi ride home with. Now, the thinker, because they're basing their information on pure logic, they may just think to themselves, okay, this guy doesn't look, all that approachable. However, we get there in 15 minutes. I'll take the taxi. Whereas the feeler will very likely take into account the feeling that they get from the driver of the 15-minute taxi and think, no, I'm going to go with the 25-minute taxi. So once again, maybe not the greatest of examples, but you're making a decision based on either, if you're a thinker, you're making decisions based on pure logic, most of the time, not all the time. And a feeler, you're making decisions based on your feelings, how you feel, how your emotions are about a specific decision or circumstance. This could come in so many different ways. If perhaps something is going wrong with something you're doing, a thinker would probably resolve the issue more by just pure logic, whereas the feeler would be making that decision to rectify the problem based on their internal feelings about the situation. So that's how you could. That's kind of how those two work. And the last of the functions is this is the way that you organize things around you, your environment, even you organize your thoughts and organize sort of information. And this is the fourth function, the final function here, either a judger, which is a J, or a P, which is a perceiver. So let's talk about the J. So the judger, oftentimes very, very organized. you organize information in very neatly. Perhaps your home is very neatly organized. Everything's sort of lined up, um, nice. Nicely. You don't like chaos. You don't like messy environments. You struggle to function in messy environments. Your workspace needs to be organized in order to get the work done and be able to function. Um, that's the J, the judger, and then we have the P, the perceiver. You are more likely to not be so much concerned about having things neatly organized. You can operate in more chaotic environments. Um, you might be a little things might be a little more scattered around. Um, Also, with your thoughts and things like that, you won't organize them um, in a neat kind of fashion. You'll be more likely to just a little bit more scattered, perhaps, and that'll be the way that you actually organize information. So those are the four functions. So like I said, there are two functions for every four function, and yeah. Um, what I will do is below this video I will drop a link to a online myers-briggs test that you can do for yourself. It's completely free. It'll probably take about 15 to 20 minutes, and you can learn to understand what your personality type is. And this really helped me when I found out about my personality type, because there was a lot of areas of my life where I felt I didn't quite understand why I was so misunderstood, and why I did things the way that I did things, and that a lot of people around me did things differently. And Also, another thing about your personality type is you will have compatibility with other personality types for relationships. What I am going to say is that any personality type can work together, but there are other personality types that work better with others. However, like I say, I believe all can work together. So that is also another good thing to know. Perhaps your partner or friend or whatever, knowing their personality type can really help how you interact with them and really understand how they see the world, because it's probably a little bit different to how you see the world. So yeah, that's pretty much it. It would be great to know in the comments what your personality type comes back as. And I know this video was a little bit long. I didn't really put too much planning into this. It was more of a spontaneous video. I could have perhaps planned it out a little better, but it is what it is. A lot of people might be asking what my personality type is. So I am an I, introverted, N, intuitive, F, feeling, and J, judging. So I am an INFJ, which is it is the rarest type, actually. Hence why I have often felt very misunderstood. What I will say as well is there are some introverted types that are a little more extroverted. It's the same for me. I probably have the more extroverted. I have the most extroverted introverted type, if you like. So a lot of people think that I'm actually extroverted, but when you actually look a little deeper into the way that I live my life, I actually am introverted. So yeah, 25 minutes. I think that's about right now. But yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll speak to you soon. Cheers.